I think Congressman Rangel would strangle the economy. You know, he's got a tax for every activity, for every individual, and you couple his tax bill with his pledge to repeal all the Bush tax cuts.
Carl Rose speaking exclusively with our Melissa Francis, reacting to the breathtaking speed with which Ways and Means Committee Chairman Charlie Rangel has gotten through his own committee this proposal to reform the alternative minimum tax, which holds off the growth of the AMT but includes a $50 billion tax hike on private equity and hedge funds to help make up for the loss of revenue. So is this bill the tax help the middle class needs, as one headline suggests that I've read today, or is it a virtual war on the wealthy, which is another headline I've read so far today? Joining us with their respective views of this, Republican strategist Jack Burkman and Margie Omero, president of Momentum Analysis, and Sean Tully's along for the ride on this one as well. Margie, there's no grass growing under Charlie Rangel's feet on this one, is there?
Well, what we're seeing here, I mean, I think you're putting a tax also on income and offshore accounts. I mean, this is something that I'm surprised Republicans are going to want to vote for, to prevent middle-class families from getting taxed, and instead they're working to protect, they're fighting to protect offshore bank accounts. I mean, that to me plays exactly into what people think of Republicans, that they're out for the rich, they're out for special interests, and not really paying attention to working families.
Bill, here's the issue. Charlie Rangel doesn't care if the society's rich or poor. The one thing he cares about is the gap. He's only concerned about how big is this gap between rich and poor. He doesn't care whether we're down here or up there. It's only this relative gap.
But Jack, doesn't it have also something to do with the gap between the revenues we would lose and the deficit it would cause at the same time?
The problem is the recovery, the boom will not continue. Rangel doesn't want a society of 8 million millionaires. You won't have a society with a $13 trillion GDP. See, here's the problem. Persons under $100,000, they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of what the feds do. Over $2 million, they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of what the feds do. But Rangel hits this group right in between. If you make $300,000, $500,000, $1 million, this is the group that drives the country. This is the group that puts $50,000 into a venture fund, $50,000 into a real estate partnership.
There's the one-year fix,
Rangel is killing the goose that laid the golden egg.
Okay, Margie.
Well, there's two separate things here. I mean, there's the one-year fix. We're just talking about a one-year fix to the AMT versus the broader Rangel tax plan, which is not coming up to a vote. So I think we need to keep those things separate. And Republicans just, you know, they don't really have a lot of other issues to talk about right now.
Let's talk about the AMT. The AMT is not a problem. Why are so many people getting? First of all, I would eliminate.
It's not a problem because we keep fixing.
I'd like to eliminate all taxes, but Rangel's not in a tax cutting mode. He's in a tax raising mode. Now, the middle class doesn't need tax relief. That's controversial, but it's true. And I'll tell you why. If you make less than $70,000 a year in the United States, you pay almost nothing in federal income taxes. The Democrats say, well, income tax is almost the same as the payroll tax, the Social Security tax. Well, that's true, but do you know why? The reason is that the federal income tax for those people has been cut down to nothing.
All right, but wait a minute, Jack. Aren't you you're forgetting that the alternative minimum tax, which was devised 30 years ago to keep loopholes away from the wealthiest income earners, is now affecting the middle class in this country?
Well, it is, and I would get rid of it, again, if we were in a tax-cutting mode. But what Rangel wants to do is only cut taxes for the middle, and I'm saying that's unhealthy. You have to understand the reason, Bill, why so many in the middle, and this isn't often discussed, the reason so many in the middle are affected now by the AMT is the mortgage interest deduction.
I hope that Republicans run on that.
People take $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. They take it down, and that's why they're covered.
All right, let me bring Sean Tully in. Sean, good luck. Step in. The water's just fine.
Well, certainly, I agree that the people who really going to be under pressure from these tax increases are people who make a couple $100,000 a year, $200,000 to $400,000 a year. They're not necessarily rich. I call them the Henrys. They're the high earners, not rich yet, folks who often don't have a lot of savings, actually, believe it or not. They get hit with very, very high tax rates. They tend to live in high-tax states, so that the increases in their property taxes and the state income taxes are not deductible under the AMT. They need AMT relief, in effect, because it raises their marginal tax rates. I do not think that a tremendous increase in marginal tax rates, a 4% surcharge, is going to collect an enormous amount of revenue. I think it's going to be a job killer, and it's going to be a killer for people in this very stressed income area who are typically work very hard and are moving up.
Margie, everybody acknowledges that something must be done about the AMT, and that's obviously something that Charlie Rangel's trying to do, and he said so on this program even before he took over at Ways and Means that that was going to be job one for him. Don't you think it behooves him, though, to come up with a bill that is a little more palatable to Republicans so that they can make progress on repealing this this once and for all?
Well,
Margie, I'm asking Margie the question.
Republicans need to come meet in the middle, too. I mean, running on a slogan, as was suggested, no tax cuts, no tax breaks for the middle class, that's not really going to go over with Democrats. That's not going to go over with the American people.
Jack?
I will say this, Bill. The Democrats, you can ask Margie. I've been asking this question all year long. Nobody answers it. I'll throw it out again. The Democrats say the Bush tax cuts had nothing to do with the current boom. They say the Reagan tax cuts had nothing to do with the boom of the 80s. And so I'll ask Margie again, by implication, do you then support going back to the tax structure of 1979?
Well, I do support rolling back the Bush tax cuts, and I don't really think that people think we're in a boom. You see people now say they want to spend less this year and Christmas. You were just talking about that. I don't think people feel that we're in a boom.
I think that's a yes, and I will construe that as a yes. I think that's a fair construction, and I think they do want to go back to the tax structure of 1979 America.
All right. Oh, you guys. Jack, Margie, thank you all for joining us. Sean, we'll check back with you again in a few minutes here.